Let's talk about the newest collection from Oden Cosmetics. It is their Holiday 2023 collection, and it consists of two eyeshadow palettes, the Snow Dream palette and the Hey Reindeer palette, and they're also going to be restocking the holiday palettes from last year. I know a lot of people missed out on this launch and have been asking them to re-release these, so these are going to be restocking. So if you were interested last year, this is the time to get them. I do not have a dedicated video on these, but let me know if you would like me to do two looks with each of the palettes. It will not be up in time for the launch, but it could just be good for inspiration. These are launching November 10th, and I will put down all the information down in the description box. At the time I'm filming this, I don't know any of the pricing. And then the two new palettes, let's get into the inside color stories. So the Snow Dream palette is, as you might guess, a little bit more on the snowy side, so we do have some pastels, and there is also a holographic eyeshadow, which I think is a brilliant idea to put in a Snow Dream palette because it definitely gives that kind of fresh snow sparkly effect. So I was very excited to dip into this palette. We have some greens, some browns, so overall a little bit more pastel leaning, and of course you have your assortment of different shimmers and shimmer formulas. And then the Hey Reindeer palette, super cute outside packaging for both of these palettes. The inside color story is for me a little bit more unexpected. I do gravitate towards this color story a little bit more, but I think it's because I'm biased because I love these kinds of tones that are these kinds of mattes. And then again, a spectrum of shimmers from toppers to more opaque shades. Some more sparkly, some more a little bit like leaning towards like a regular shimmer shadow. There is a multi-chrome right here, the Candy Canes, and it is absolutely deliciously shiny and sparkly and very shifty. So I can't wait to show you the 4 looks I created. So I did 2 looks with each of these palettes, so let's get right into it, and then at the end of the video I'll give you some of my thoughts. I'm first going to be creating 2 looks with the Hey Reindeer palette. I did already prime with the Pat McGrath eyeshadow primer, and oh my gosh, there's so much I could do with this palette. I feel like this is a very kind of unexpected color story. I'm going in with Holly first, and I'm going to put that right into my crease. And then I'm going to take Cider up into that on the edges. Oh, that seems very gently pigmented. I'm not really picking up anything. Let me swirl a little bit more in the pan. I mean, that's kind of lightening the edges just a little bit, but it's pretty weak. I haven't even swatched this shade yet, so until just now. Layering it to see if I can amp it up, and I'm gonna go back in with Holly. Next, I'm taking the Rephr 13 brush and I'm picking up Snow Wish. Some of these are a little hard to read because the text is super thin, but also it's just kind of, there's so much little designs going on. So I'm just gonna create almost kind of like an eyeshadow wing, but I want it to be pretty blended out. I'm just bringing it and connecting it already with the lower lash line. So I'm just kind of feathering it. Just keep feathering. The edge, smoking it out. I'm gonna kind of fix this later. I didn't want it to really go out like that, but that is definitely fixable. And then just like a little bit winged out like that. Next, I'm gonna take Ivy with the same brush underneath the lower lash line. This one doesn't want to adhere down there. I don't have anything down here, so that's probably why. But it's pretty, again, gently pigmented. I wonder if it was because I don't have the primer down there. Taking the Rephr number 2 brush, picking up Bells. Actually, I think I should have picked it up on a smaller brush, but we'll see. And I just misted my brush a little bit, and I'm gonna go over the wing with this. Definitely think I should have went in with a smaller brush, so don't be like me. But that just adds a little bit of sparkle. And then I'm wiping off the brush, and I'm going to go in, I think, with Wreath. And I'm gonna pop that kind of right in the center above it. And maybe a little bit on the inner portion. I'm just gonna bring it a little bit further in, but I really wanna go in with Christmas Ham. And it's gonna go right onto the inner portion right here. It's got a little bit of a pinky purple iridescence to it, and I'm gonna use it as my inner corner highlight as well. This one seems like it's a little bit of a flaky formula. I'm going to take my pinky and just go over it with my pinky to see if I can amp it up even more. And I'm going to do the same thing with Wreath. This one seems a little bit harder pressed. I'm just going to go take it further out. Here's the first finished look. Onto the second look, I'm using Reindeer. And it's going to go right into the crease. This is definitely going to be a warmer look. Maybe a little, it actually matches my nails. Look at that. How nice. And then I'm going to take Greetings and deepen that up in just the crease. And I'm using the Refer 13 brush. So far, the only brush for this eye look. And I'm just kind of going around and just blending everything out. And then I'm going to take Mistletoe, which is this beautiful red, and pop that onto the outer corner. And just blend it a little bit in. And just add a little bit more. I feel like this palette, for me personally, is missing one more deeper matte shadow. Switching to the E05 brush from Beaute. This is just such a go-to brush for me. Going in with Mistletoe underneath my lower lash line just to connect the outer corner. And then I am going to go into Snowish since it is the only deeper shade in here. And I'm just going to take it right along my lash line just to add a little bit of depth. But even then, it's not like the deepest shade with the Refer 13. I'm going to take a little bit on my brush, keeping it very focused out here. Picked up Candy Canes on the Refer number 2 brush, and I'm just going to pop that on the center of my lid. Ooh, this is so shiny. Definitely can get a bit more of a foiled look, especially with a tacky primer. I can really see the shift super easily. This is so shifty. Wow, this shade is really, really stunning. And then I'm going to take a little bit of Eggnog. I'm actually not really sure how pigmented it is yet. And I'm going to put it up above that. Just a little bit. It seems to be pretty sheer. Just adds a little bit of a extra oomph up there. I can see so much green out here. Next, I'm taking Fireplace underneath the rest of my lower lash line. I'm just packing it on with the Beaute brush. And then I think I'm going to bring Candy Canes as my inner corner highlight. It's just so special. And here's the second finished look. I picked up Ornament, and I'm going to put that onto the inner lid and outer corner lid area, and a little bit onto my lower lash line. And just packing on a little bit more. And then I'm going to use the shade Snowflake to blend the edges. I'm really curious. I feel like sometimes Oden's Eye pastels are kind of like not the best. I do enjoy majority of their matte shadows, but I do feel like some of their pastels are a little bit thin compared to, especially like Blend Bunny has some of the best pastel mattes. And I'm just gonna be kind of going back and forth and adding a little bit more here and there. And then I'm also going to take it just a little bit underneath my lower lash line down here. Just really going green over here. And then I'm going to take, I kind of want to, I mean, this could go wrong, but I might try it a little bit. I'm taking the tiniest bit of God Jewel. I don't even, what does that mean? What is God Jewel? Isn't it supposed to be Good Jewel? And I'm going to pop that right here. And I'm going to make sure I keep it extremely close to my lash line. So it's just going to add a little bit more depth in here. And then I'm going to do the same thing out here. Again, keeping it extremely close to my lash line. There's not really a deepening up shade in this palette. And I'm just going to mix in a little bit more ornament. It's just going to be a lot of kind of going back and forth, trying to get it to where I want it to be, going back in with good jewel. And then I really, really, really want to use frankincense. Also didn't know that was a thing. This is a hollow shadow. So excited to see a holographic shadow in an eyeshadow palette from Oden's Eye. Definitely new to them. And I'm just trying to kind of blend it. It seems to be kind of sticking in one section. I didn't put down any sort of glitter primer or anything, so I'm just trying to like kind of tap out the edges. I might have to go in and just kind of blend them out with this brush. I'm just gonna go back in with a little bit more ornament. So I don't really want it to be harsh there. And just a little bit out here too. And I'm gonna pick up a little bit more, just the tiniest bit. I feel like this is not like the easiest to work with. I'm gonna use Hugs as the inner corner highlight. That is such a pretty shade. Oh, that looks so good. There's definitely like green flecks throughout it, so it's perfect for this. And then I do want to take the hollow shade underneath my lower lash line. So this shade is a little bit squishy in the pan from just even poking it. It seems to be like easily disturbed in the pan with the brush. And then just for reference, this is kind of like how it picks up on the brush. So definitely want to mist it. And I think a glitter glue would be also even better, but I just want to be able to spread it out easily down here. So I'm gonna have a holographic under eye. I do just wish I could have deepened this up a little bit more. Primed again with the Be Perfect eyeshadow primer. I'm going in with Guests. Oh my, pigmentation. And I'm just gonna be putting that right into the crease and into the outer corner as well. And then I'm gonna wipe off my brush a bit, and then I'm gonna take Beaute on the edges of that. And just really get a nice blend, which it is blending so nicely. And then I'm gonna use, I could use a little bit of Feast. Maybe I'll use a little bit of Feast. I'm gonna go in with a smaller brush. This is the 13 mini from Refer, and I'm gonna put that right here, or maybe not. I'm gonna put that right here. That is so much lighter than I thought it was gonna be. Okay, so I'm just gonna put that on my lid, I guess. So actually, I'm gonna go in with God Jewel, which I think is supposed to be Good Jewel, and just gonna put it out here, and just a little bit more. And then I'm gonna go back in with the other fluffier brush, which is just the regular Refer 14, and then I'm gonna pick up a little bit more. And then I'm gonna bring this underneath my lower lash line with the red to connect. Super powdery, but very pigmented. And then again, taking Beaute on the edge of that. And I'm gonna use a brush to apply the shimmers. So, oh my gosh, there's so much to choose from. I really wish I had used, I kind of want to go in with a purple. I thought that'd be interesting. So there's no deepening up shade, right? So I might use Celebrate. Seems to be like a little bit of a deeper purple, but we'll see how it applies. Oh, that is so shiny, so pretty. So that's gonna go onto the outer corner. So I do feel like it's a little sheer. It's not as dark as it looks in the pan. And then I'm gonna take Sweater next to that. And then, ooh, and then Hugs to the inner portion of my lid and a little bit up. I'm gonna blend it up into the crease. Definitely have a little bit of fallout. I also have some previous fallout from the other look I wore all day. And I'm gonna take a little bit of Celebrate. I do wanna kind of connect it down here, just so that it's not just kind of sticking out on its own there. I feel like it might be nice to connect it a little bit down here. I feel like it just brings a little bit of brightness down to the lower lash line. And then I do kind of, actually I'm going to go in with Mary as well. And I'm going to mist my brush again. This is the Refer 02 Mini, and I'm going to pop that right underneath my lower lash line. And here's the second finished look. So at this point, I have tried quite a few eyeshadow palettes from Oden's Eye, so I'm pretty familiar with their formulas. I feel like I got a pretty good feel for the palette. So let's first talk about the Hey Reindeer palette. So this is definitely my favorite color story between the two new palettes. Not quite between all four of the holiday themed palettes, but this one just, I love the tones in here. The shimmers are absolutely spectacular. There are some of the shimmers in here that are a little bit kind of squishy in the pan, but you really do have to kind of push in to really feel them. The multi-chrome in this palette is so stunning. I love it. I love that they put just one multi-chrome in here because I'm sure it helps to keep the cost down of these palettes. Now, I wish there was more deepening up shade. The shade down here just is not enough. I felt like the shade Cider was just really dry and very powdery and thin and kind of hard to work with for a pastel. So not my favorite. I feel like that shade for me is just not really it in this palette. But overall, not just color story wise, I do actually prefer this palette over the other palette. There's just not enough depth in the Snow Dream palette, and also because of that, there's a lot of those pastels, and I don't really think that Oden's Eye has always done pastels great. I do feel like there's other palettes that they had pastels that were really great, but I feel like lately it's really thin, it's really hard to build up. For example, even this white matte is just leaves a lot to be desired, honestly. And then Snowflake and Garland are just, again, really thin formula. So overall, I feel like there's a lot missing from this palette. I like the introduction of the hollow eyeshadow. That being said, I'm not sure about the formula. It seems to be a little bit harder to work with. I have to try it with a brush and on top of like a tacky primer, etc., just to get a better feel for it. But with a finger, it seemed to kind of really stick down and not want to move, which is really interesting for a shimmer shadow. I'm not really quite sure I've ever encountered that before. Again, some of the shades are a little bit squishy. I haven't experienced any hard pan with any of the shades, which is definitely nice to see because that has been an issue with past Oden's Eye palettes. Otherwise, the shimmers in here are beautiful. Even this kind of more neutral leaning, not special kind of just brown taupey shade is a really sparkly, really smooth, really beautiful, and I just think I preferred the looks that I did with the other palette. So those are kind of my initial thoughts on these two palettes. Obviously, don't take this as a full-on in-depth kind of review. I do feel like I want to dip into these some more, but again, I do have quite a bit of experience with Oden's Eye, so I do feel like I know what to expect. Now, at the time I'm filming this, they have not yet shown the insides of the palettes or even the cover art. It's just been blurry pictures, so I don't know yet what these swatches look like, but they are notorious for doing octopus arm swatches on literally like almost the same skin tone. They're really slacking on showing a light, medium, and deeper skin tone, and I have mentioned this in a previous video, so I will reiterate in this video again just in case someone from Oden's Eye is watching. Please do better with your arm swatches. People need to be able to get an idea what these colors look like on their skin tone. This is in fact the year of our multi-chrome Lord 2023, so let's get our stuff together. Some of my other thoughts is I wish there was a couple of other kind of products in this launch, because to be launching 2 new palettes and then relaunching 2 other palettes, that's 4 palettes. That is 4 palettes in a holiday launch. I would have loved to see some like really sparkly, beautiful, holiday themed lip glosses, lipsticks, you know, etc. Just little things like that. Maybe additional blushes, highlighters. I would love to see more highlighters. They have a really beautiful highlighter formula as well as their blush formula. Like, there's just so much opportunity to really make this a great holiday launch with a variety of products. I just think 4 palettes is very monotonous and also overwhelming, and I do think that they have great formulas of other kinds of products that I would just love to see them expand on. So let me know in the comments below if you're going to be picking up any of the new palettes or if you're going to be just picking up the relaunch palettes from last year. And if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, and thank you so much for watching. I hope to see you next time.